Chapter 7, Maneuvering. Sun Tzu's The Art of War, also translated as military maneuvers or battlefield mobility. In Chapter 7, Sun Tzu focuses on the art of movement in warfare. He explains that the ability to maneuver troops efficiently, control the battlefield, and respond to changing conditions is one of the most critical aspects of military success. This chapter also covers the dangers of recklessness, poor positioning, and careless movement, as well as how to counter an enemy's maneuvers. The key lesson of this chapter is, an army that moves wisely and decisively will control the battlefield, while a slow, uncoordinated force will be at the mercy of its enemies. 1. The importance of tactical maneuvering. Sun Tzu states, "In war, the key to victory is speed and positioning. A skilled general uses maneuvering to place his army in an advantageous position before battle begins. Those who arrive first at the battlefield and wait for the enemy are prepared. Those who arrive later and rush into battle are at a disadvantage." 1.1 Why maneuvering matters. Positioning determines who has the advantage. A well-placed army can defeat a much larger force. Speed and deception create uncertainty. If the enemy does not know where or when you will strike, they are vulnerable. Strategic movement prevents unnecessary conflict. It is better to outmaneuver an enemy than to engage them in a costly direct battle. Example, Battle of Gaugamela, 331 BCE, Alexander the Great versus Persia. Instead of attacking head-on, Alexander lured the Persians into overextending their line. He then maneuvered his cavalry to exploit gaps, leading to a decisive victory. 2. The 5 types of dangerous maneuvering. Sun Tzu warns that certain types of movement are dangerous and must be avoided. Type of maneuver, danger. Example. 1. Rushing blindly into unfamiliar territory. Risk of ambush, exhaustion. Napoleon's army overextended in Russia, 1812, leading to disaster. 2. Fighting in difficult terrain without preparation. Higher casualties, disorganization. Romans struggled in the Teutoburg Forest, 9 CE, due to dense woods. Advancing too far without supply lines, starvation, vulnerability. The Germans in World War II overextended during Operation Barbarossa, 1941. 4. Splitting forces too much, easier for the enemy to isolate and destroy units. The French at Waterloo, 1815, failed due to divided forces. 5. Pursuing the enemy recklessly could fall into a trap. Crassus's Roman legions were destroyed by Parthian hit-and-run tactics, 53 BCE. 3. How to use maneuvering to gain the advantage. Sun Tzu describes several strategies for effective movement. 3.1 Moving faster than the enemy. Speed is the essence of war. A slow army is easily countered, while a fast-moving army forces the enemy to react. Example, Napoleon's March Divided, Fight United strategy. His armies moved in separate columns to travel faster, but came together before battle, ensuring speed and power. 3.2 The art of deception in movement. Appear in one place, then strike in another. False movements can trick the enemy into defending the wrong location. Example, D-Day, 1944 War II. The Allies used fake radio transmissions and inflatable tanks to make Germany believe the invasion would happen at Pas-de-Calais, not Normandy. 3.3 Using terrain to your advantage. A general who knows the terrain has already won half the battle. Moving into high ground, defensible positions, or areas difficult for the enemy to traverse creates a major advantage. Example, the Swiss defense strategy, historical European wars. Swiss forces lured invading armies into mountain passes where superior numbers meant nothing. 4. The psychological and logistical challenges of maneuvering. 4.1 The danger of exhaustion. An army that marches too far without rest is already half defeated. Soldiers who are tired, hungry, or disorganized will lose effectiveness in battle. Example, the Japanese retreat from Guadalcanal, 1943. 2. After extended jungle warfare, the Japanese were so exhausted that they could no longer fight effectively. 4.2 How to control troop morale during movement. Sun Tzu states that a good general keeps morale high even during long campaigns by ensuring regular rest periods. Fatigue weakens even the best warriors. Avoiding unnecessary movement. Troops should march only when necessary. Giving clear orders. Confusion leads to disorder. Example, Hannibal's crossing of the Alps, 218 BCE, Second Punic War. Despite brutal conditions, Hannibal used motivational speeches and promises of wealth to keep morale up. 5. How to counter an enemy's maneuvers. Sun Tzu advises generals to observe and disrupt enemy movements, rather than reacting blindly. Enemy maneuver. Fast movement toward a key position. Use obstacles, cut off their supplies, force them to slow down. Attempts to lure you into bad terrain. Stay disciplined, do not chase recklessly. Trying to encircle your forces. Retreat strategically to regroup. Using deception. Gather intelligence before making decisions. Example, Battle of Cannae, 216 BCE, Rome versus Carthage. The Romans marched aggressively toward Hannibal, thinking they had the advantage. Hannibal used a flexible formation that absorbed the Romans' attack, then surrounded and annihilated them. 6. Key takeaways from Chapter 7. 1. Maneuvering determines victory. The best generals position their armies to gain the upper hand before battle begins. 2. Speed is crucial. A fast-moving army dictates the terms of war and forces the enemy into bad positions. 3. Terrain matters. High ground, forests, mountains, rivers, and narrow passes can be used to gain an advantage. 4. Deception is powerful. Fake movements, feigned retreats, and misinformation confuse the enemy. 5. Avoid dangerous movement mistakes. Reckless advances, exhaustion, overextending, and falling into traps can lead to disaster. 6. Always think ahead. A great general anticipates the enemy's movements and adjusts accordingly. Conclusion. Chapter 7. Maneuvering teaches that battles are won through positioning, movement, and deception, not brute strength alone. A wise commander uses speed, terrain, and unpredictability to control the fight before it begins. By outmaneuvering the opponent, cutting off their options, and forcing them into bad positions, an army can win with minimal effort and risk.